Well, good for you. Whoops. Luke. My baby back. morning. Still working on my good mornings. Welcome on board. We are here for another Sunday morning art session with Arcane Arena. And basically, this is just me getting the week ready for all of the work that I'm going to be working on for this game. Arcane Arena is a board game that I am developing with my partner Chris Torlucas, business partner, and he is the designer of the game. He basically created the mechanic and put it all together. And my name's Keith Prosick, and I am doing all of the artwork for the cards and the look of the game. So Sunday mornings is my session to just walk people through what we're doing with the game, how the artwork is working across the cards, and how it all ties the game together. So um, with that, I'm just gonna kind of just start wandering. So um, every Friday nights we have our training sessions with the game here on this channel. And if you're interested in the game, please tune in for Friday nights. We have the game available as a mod for Tabletop Simulator. Arcane Arena is a actual analog, physical, real board game that we are developing, and our hope is to kickstart sometime this spring, um, depending on whether or not the pandemic will be nice to us. So, anyhow, um, let's get to it. So, what I basically do, I've been doing these one card polls for the to decide which card to work on for the day. Basically, I'll pull a card, and whatever card is, that's what I focus on for the day. And then, if that card has a specific character, I also work on all of the cards that have that same character. So, we're coming into the end of the artwork development portion of this project. And so, what I'm doing now is a lot of these cards have been developed over time over the past year. What I'm doing now is tying them all together and making sure that all of the character stays consistent across the cards. If you were here last week, you will remember that we discovered that on the move card, that character across 6 cards, the bandana was upside down on some of the cards. Well, we needed to know which one was the right way up. We had to make a decision which way was going to be the right way up. So that's what we're looking for at this point in the artwork. There's still 8 cards to design. We have 46 cards, different cards altogether. So there's 46 different pieces of artwork that I've done for this game, and there are still about 8 cards left to develop. All the others are in some sort of state of completion, but they are at least composed. I know what I need to do. Well, no, I'll do that later. We decided that we're also deciding like which artwork goes right on which cards, and sometimes we'll run into a situation where the artwork's not going to be just right on this card, but it'll work better on this card, and the art on that card will actually work better on this card. So, we're doing a little bit of that as well. But we are really trying to push the artwork to be very unique for this game. We are trying to really bring the player into our world that we're creating, this Arcane Arena world, and that's hard to do, especially with there being like just visually. So these characters on the cards that you see are meant to draw you into this world, and also illustrate what the card does and how the arena works, and the little nuances that make this arena more special than ever the any other arenas. Um, And there's a specific way that the magic works. There's, in the in the arcane arena, we are tapping into the planetary magnetic field. And in the corner of the arena are four hinges. And these hinges are aligned specifically to be able to open up a connection into a ley line which is running through the planet. And then the grid on the board or the arena itself is made of lodestones at the intersections, and the lodestones harness that magical energy. And from this magnetic energy, this magical energy, um, the characters can draw off of to do their spells. Because in this game, you have abilities and you have spells, and depending on which way you want to go and which way you want to train. So it's a very very big project. So today I pulled up the procure card, and the procure card is shows one of the characters. There's two types of characters on the cards. There are trainer characters, or characters that are the trainers, and they typically only have one card that represents them, and they are cards that typically will come up in the training phase, or that would be used in the training phase. And then there are, it looks like there's going to be eight characters on the board, or eight characters in the game that are competing. And of these eight characters, they're all portrayed in different relationships across the cards. So, and I'm trying to portray the personality of these characters based upon, and each of these characters are going to align. There are, I believe, six different trainer belts, or trainer. There are at least six different main trainer belts, and then there are some minor belts. So I think eight total, and each of the characters I'm designing to have an association with one of those trainer belts. And the trainer belts get associated by color and then also a pattern that is associated with them. So these patterns and colors are going to sort of percolate up through the characters that are associated with them, that appear on those cards specific. At least that's the plan. You know, we've been sort of evolving this. It's been a living process creating this game. So we're at the point, again, at the point of this project where making the artwork consistent with what it's supposed to represent and connect you to with the game. Yes, we are going this far into it. So, no, I mean we're taking this seriously. I take this seriously. It's not just coming up with basic clip art to represent. I mean, we did that in the beginning, but just like really having a sense of narrative or connection with the cards and the artwork and connecting the character to that. Um, so this right here that you this person, this is on the procure card, and the procure card helps give you helps increase your currency in the trainer phase. In the trainer phase, like every player is starting with the same deck of cards. We all come together as equals in this game. We come to the arena with the sameness. And through the trainer phase, the game is 3 rounds. There's a trainer phase and then a combat phase. So in the trainer phase, you start to use the cards that you start with to use the currency on those cards to train with trainers to build up stronger cards for your hand. And then after the first trainer phase, we go into a combat phase and we spar with each other. And in that sparring phase, we see where our decks are weak based upon the opponent that we are playing against. Now, the beauty of this game is that you can't get dependent on a specific path through this game. It's going to depend on what cards you pull up. You know, are you going to pull up a spell heavy hand or an ability heavy hand? and then you're going to have to adjust based upon the person that you're playing with and how they adjust. So after the first combat round, you come back, train again, and then you work through, and then you compete again, and you're ultimately working up for the third round. The first two rounds are sort of like the sparring rounds where you're testing your deck, you're testing your abilities, you're testing your spells. Are they working? You know, do you have enough of defensive cards? Are you having enough of offensive cards to be able to do damage? Or do you have enough of maneuverability cards that are moving you around the board? Do you have cards that are going to cycle you to? Because like one of the different things about this deck building game than the others is you're constantly cycling through. Your deck is a wheel, all right? You have to think of your deck as a wheel. This is my hands moving real fast. I am dancing deck man. Your deck is constantly spinning, all right? When your deck gets, when your draw pile gets empty, you take your discard pile and immediately shuffle it back over, and it continues. It's a non-ending cyclical deck that is ever evolving as you are growing and becoming more powerful through the game. You only have up to 4 cards in your hand at any one time. There are some cards that allow you to have more than that. But then at the end of your turn, you draw up to make sure that you have a minimum of 4 cards. If you happen to have 5 cards, you don't draw any more cards. So it's this constant cycle. So there are cards that are designed to help that cycle move faster. Welcome on board to anybody who is following along. I am talking about the art development side of Arcane Arena. This is our Sunday morning sessions. On Friday evenings, we have our training sessions where we are teaching people to play the game. If you're interested, tune in to Friday nights at 8:30 p.m. And we have our game available as a mod on Tabletop Simulator. If you have Tabletop Simulator, tune in. We will get you the link. We will give you our game to play for yourself. Friday nights, we are showing you because Tabletop Simulator is a little bit awkward to use. And our rules, like, they're easier to understand if you, they're really, really simple if you have somebody that walks you through them. The beautiful thing about this game is one walk through a round, you got the basic gist of this game and how it works. But then after a year, you can still be learning ways of making the cards work with each other in both the training phase and the combat phase. So I love this game. We all love this game. That the people that are developing this game, this is the game that we love to play. And we want to share it with as many people as possible. So tune in on Friday nights for the training play. Hopefully by February, March, we will start having competitive play at some night during the week. So we will have that coming. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday night. So that's basically the gist of that. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. I'm right now. I'm working on the artwork, and so I get a lot of comments about the artwork when we're playing the game, and I say, "Oh yes, I still need to work on that card." And this is a good example. This card looks like it's finished, but it's not, and I'll show you where. If we zoom in, if you look up, you'll notice on the cards that there's these areas. They look like they're complete, but from a distance. But there's a lot of line work. There's a lot of shading, light and shadow. A lot of sketchiness to the cards. That needs to be polished. It's like where it needs to be finished, it needs to be polished. And also, if you look, you notice I've kind of got a little filter to try to give a sense of depth, but I haven't really worked on the bleed between these two sections. So you can see where there's a filter where I'm trying to blur out what's behind the structure, but it's not quite working well with the structure itself. It's like there's these columns, because I kind of did this in a rush. We are a three-person team putting this together. So, we've been working on this for, well, the look and the artwork of the game has been going on for about 16 months. The game has been in development for about 4 years. Um, the designer of this game, Chris Torlucas, has spent about 2 to 3 years before I even came on balancing this game, making sure that all of the cards work well. There's not a lot of exploits. We try to push. I mean, we want people to push to see if they can find exploits to this game, and it's great because there'll be times when we get players in there that will try to push the game in a certain direction, and they'll get a little bit of advantage of using the cards, but then we'll find ways of using the cards to balance that. So it's not necessarily an exploit. It's just learning how to, like, a new area of how the cards can be used. And it's great because it will open up a door where then, like, oh, you did that. We can balance that with this. And then can they adjust again to push it further? So the game has tools to be within it and means and mechanisms to balance itself when somebody tries to pull it in a certain direction. And it's knowing how to react with the cards and learning that reaction. And this is just the first phase. This is just phase one of this game. The artwork that's coming out this, we have, at least in our minds, we're plans for 2 to 3 expansions. But it's all going to be depend on, like I said, we're a very, very, very small team. For us to push it further, we're gonna we're at we're at the place where we need to just get people playing the game. Really, is where we're at. So, I hope you find some interest in this. Um, And here's the thing, little, if you see this little random, vertical black line, I'm not sure where that came. I call that a relic. And I work with layers. I put layers on top of layers upon top of layers, and layers will merge into layers, and then new layers get put on top of that layer, and it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. But then over time, between these layers, these little objects appear that are called relics, and they're things that were on there that then got deleted, but not all of it got deleted, and some of it just remains. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. This is a bad example of a relic, this little black line, and we need to figure out what layer it's on. So the way that I'm working in Photoshop, and I try to keep it really, really simple. I come in as an oil painter to the digital realm. So my approach to Photoshop is the way that I approach a canvas. I try to keep it simple. I don't want to get too long. As an oil painter, I don't want to get stuck in the technical aspect of my left brain. I want to stay as much in the creative state as possible. So I keep things as simple. I use as least amount of brushes as possible. I rely basically on the brush tool, the fill tool. My most powerful tool is my smudge tool. So those are the 3 tools that I use the most. Brush, well, 4 tools, because I also use the erase. So I'm using the brush tool, I'm using the fill tool, I'm using the smudge tool is my most important one. And my erase tool is very, very important when I am trying to solidify the edge of a line, between 2 areas. I'm in a constant battle with myself between wanting to blur the edges, but then wanting to make them crisp. And just going back and forth upon layers gets a sense of depth to that edge. So that I try to capture. So we need to figure out which And you can see there's a little bit more of it like down here where this base board or this base area to the wall section, um, the fill or the pattern inside of it isn't lining up with the line itself. So we're having an issue here. Um, and again, I call these relics. They're just layers that shifted out of alignment somewhere along the way by me just working just very intensely with the artwork itself. Sometimes layers shift, things disappear, I move things, I scale things, but then little layers that I've created just to experiment with lines and or certain different ways to go with the look remain. So they're the relics. I call them relics. I don't know if that's what they're called. I just call them relics because they're like sometimes they're great discoveries. They're like, wow, that looks really, really cool. I'll show you an example. Let me show you. Let me pull up the wound card of where relics really, really came into play. And I'll just pull this up for you. So here's an example of how relics work to your benefit. The one that I just showed you on the procure card artwork is wrong, and we need to fix that. Here is where relics can end up working in your favor. If you look down here at the knee, the idea of this card is the wound card. It's one of the cards that you don't start with. You can't get in the trainer pool. It is a card that can get put into you by other cards. So, like if a player does like certain cards can do severe damage, and when they do the severe damage, they have what's called place wound cards in the opponent's deck, and the wound card becomes it's got very, very poor values, and it becomes it can kind of slow you down in your turn when it pulls up in your hand to play for your turn. But talking art wise and the concept of relics, I was playing with the scale of this character on this card, and I had it bigger, I had it smaller. I was working with layers, and then what happened one time, I realized I had two different versions of this character going at the same time, and one of them was a layer on top of it was layers on top of layers. It's just, am I going to go, is it going to be this universe or is it going to be this universe? Which universe do I need to choose? So I scaled up, and this was a course of a day where this happened with this knee area, because I was focusing on getting the scale right and getting getting the edge of the character right. And what happened was I changed the scale of this layer, but then the layer behind it that I had forgotten about came forth. But what I had done on that layer without me knowing was kind of did some erasing. So when the layer revealed itself, it had this brokenness to it. Because like you can kind of see the outer edge of this curve was matching where the knee was. So it was a process of me working across layers and forgetting that I was working across layers. It left me these little tiny relics of brokenness that if it wasn't the wound card, I would have removed. But the fact that it is the wound card and this brokenness appeared on the knee, like the knee hit the ground and shattered. That's what I'm going for here. And that's where, like, sometimes these, and I call them relics because they're leftovers of like a golden, like you find a golden chalice buried in the ground with your artwork. I'm like, this was like a happy accident. Bob Ross would say, a happy accident. And I'm like, yes. And now look at that. That looks genius. And it was an accident. It was a complete accident to the process, which I love. I mean, those are the things that take your works over the edge, that make you your accidents that you put into place, and accidents that layer on top of accidents that layer on top of accidents. Those accidents become relics that come to you as you're working on a piece across the evolving time of that piece. Beautiful. So now let's take it back to Procure, where this relic is awful. It's not working. So what I need to do is I need to figure out what layer it's on. So that's the problem when you're working across layers, and then you can like spend hours like, is it this layer? Is it this layer? You kind of gotta get down and figure out what layer it's on. Because sometimes I'm working really, really, really fast, and I just pushed a new layer button, just pushed a new layer button, and I'm going so fast, I don't even name it. It's like, because I don't want to get in the left brain. Words are left brain. Text, left brain. I want to stay in the right brain, so I just push button and go. So sometimes it's an ebb and flow with the design. You want to get into that manic state, but then you want to get in that manic state and go so far that you lose a sense of grounding of what you started building the artwork off of. Then you can get lost with it, and then you just got to start pulling back. And it's an ebb and flow. And like, if I ever get in a feeling where I am just stuck with a piece, I can't push. I don't know. It's like in oil painting, we call it mud. It just gets to the point where no matter what you add to it, no matter what color you add to it, you go. It just gets to the point. No matter what you add to it, it just ends up to be what's called mud in oil painting, or just a universal beige is what it's called. It's like it's a universal beige. Like if you just took, and actually I think they did this where NASA took all of their satellite images, and he took this algorithm and he tried to process what was the average color of the universe. And it ended up being a boring, mediocre beige. So the universe on the average is beige, universal beige. I wonder if I can find that somewhere. Let me pull that up. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so here you go. The universe is beige. Oh, I don't want to start my free month trial. Go away. Anyway, universe is beige. Anyway, good session. Woo! You be patient with me. I've only started streaming about a year ago, and I'm still trying to get comfortable with it. It's unnerving pushing into the streaming realm and getting comfortable with yourself on the stream. Um, when I first started last March getting into Twitch, I think I spent 40 hours talking to myself. Some of it was breaking down just because it's awful seeing yourself coming back at you, and just, I don't know. There's a disconnect until you connect with yourself, feeding back onto yourself, and it's an unnerving experience of being in that mode, a sort of time dilation with yourself. All right, this is how I figure out the fast. This is how I quickly figure out. Also, if you also look over here in this corner, there's some relics happening up here between that are, it's like this pattern on top of the pixelated pattern behind it. So let me look at this. So typically, what I've come to rely as a tool of being able to find myself through here is I just hit the V, which is the move tool. And if I hit the V and I just select on an object, it's whatever layer I'm going to hit, it's going to automatically go to that layer. So that's going to let me know it's on the body. So this is on the body, which it shouldn't be on the body. The body needs to be just the body. So if I take, so now the V tool taking me, the move tool taking me straight to the layer. If I turn this layer off, that relic should disappear. And it does. And so does that other layer. See, okay, here's another good example of relics where I've got line work that I forgot that I had done that sort of was outlining the edge of the of certain things, just trying to find the edge, trying to balance the light and shadow. But I do it on a separate layer before I put it on the main layer, and then if I like it, I merge those layers. If I don't like it, I don't. But if I don't know, sometimes it remains. So let's see what layer this is on. Structure copy. And there's some more layers. Okay, so if you see the columns are disappearing. So what I'm going to want to do is I want to take this outline. I really like this outline that I did, this little outline here. Except I don't like that middle part. I'm going to erase this part here. So while I'm on this, let me do this. So if you notice, I'm going to come in here, and I am. Let me pull down the scale of that a little bit. All right, let me get. I use so many tools. Let me shrink this up. Oh, let's go a little bit fatter. And before I copy it over, I want to remove I don't want to remove all of it. I want to remove this. I don't like this part of it. We don't need to take this. Okay. And then that's where we're going this morning. We're going with cleanup. Because what happens is I get into these little manic sessions where you just go with it, and the piece talks to it's a talking to you, but it's not like voices in your head. It's kind of like guiding you. It's like this is a divining rod. If you know what a divining rod is, a little stick that you're using to find water. It's a divining rod is a branch of a tree that still has life in it, and it will bend towards water. If you this way, you can find water in the ground. I have no idea what my point of bringing up the divining. I got it. Yeah, the painting just guides you, and you just start popping in layers. You just start popping in lines. You get layers on top of layers. You get layers behind layers, and you you got to come back and clean up your drawing. You got to clean up your layers. So, like if you look here, there's all kinds of stuff. So this is what's on structure copy. So I want to erase a little bit more of this. I basically use 4 tools. I use brush, smudge, move, and erase. Smudge, move, fill, and erase. And then, those are the editing tools: move, rotate, scale. All right, so let me put the body back on there. Let me take this off and see if the eyes are going to disappear. So let's go ahead and delete that layer. We don't need that. Okay, so zoom out. Oops. All right, so we're cleaning up the layers. That's what we're going to. We found a relic on one of like the drawings, and a relic is one of these sort of lines that appears when you're in that manic rushing stage, and so this is on the line is on the body, so we don't need it. So let's go to the body layer, and if we turn it off, we'll notice that that relic disappears. Because what will happen is I'm working on the body layer, and then I'll get off the body and I'll start. Oh, I need to get a line here, and you forget that you don't change layers, and then you get things on the wrong layer. So let's go ahead. If you notice, that's going to erase that, and then okay, we need to figure out. Yeah, there we go. We got rid of that. These relics. So this is how relics will appear. If you notice, I got these little. I'm just going to go ahead and circle this right there. Little smiley face. That's a relic. Little things that come between the layers, where between like putting it on and erasing, and you don't quite erase it all. You get these little tiny things that over time you'll find in your drawings, or at least I do. That sometimes are good, sometimes are bad. These are bad. We want them gone. So we're going to erase them. All right, here's another relic looks like it's on a different layer. This one is on that one's on the body layer. This one is not. So we're going to go ahead and when you're cleaning it up, it's just, I'm not going to get all of them today. I don't try to get all of them. I just get the ones that I find, because they're the ones that I'm finding are the ones that are standing out. And then I keep doing this process. And the idea is that this process on top of itself over the course of developing a drawing will be a quality measure to make sure that I'm keeping the drawing balanced and it doesn't get out of control, and all of a sudden I have 1,000 layers and I don't know what's on what. So let's figure out which layer this is on. That's on the floor. There's no reason that should be up on the ceiling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to here. Now that I've found out what layer that relic is on, I'm going to pull out a little bit, and then I'm going to turn that layer off and see if there's anything else that just disappears. And what stands out, I'm going to erase. And this is the floor layer. There should be nothing above the floor on this. So, yeah, so these little lines that are going up, if we notice, we found, and it's also going to happen on the other side. I'm going to zoom in here. If you notice, I'm going to turn that layer off. Watch the line that disappears. That's a relic. We need to remove that. So what we're going to do, it's the floor layer. Nothing above the floor is supposed to exist. So I'm just going to bring on the eraser tool, make it a little bit larger, and I'm just going to see how far down I can go. Yeah, oh, okay, so we had some stuff on the wall. So like here, I should be able to go all the way across. It's not going to affect the guy. And then there was one on this side. I'm going to, oh, I actually have, I have symmetry on. So whatever happens on one side is going to happen on the other. So now what I'm going to do, and this is also how relics arrive, but I know that this area, I'm going to do a quick pass. You know, let's get it all. I'm going a little bit slow. Let's get symmetry off. We don't need symmetry on here. Let me let this catch up to itself. Okay, cool. Let's get the rectangle tool. nothing above the floor should exist on this layer. So we're going to come in here, put up a little fence around there, and hit the delete key. That should take care of any relics that might be up there above there, and we'll consider that clean. So if we come in here now, we've cleaned that up. You see, this whole area is nice and clean. There, you, if you look at the line work on the pattern, there's some broken line work. We're not going to get to that. That's going to be moving forward when we're going to start adding stuff back. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm in the ebb part of this session, and I'm going to ebb for about another 15 or 20 minutes, and then I'll start pushing the drawing forward again, flowing forward, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. And that's really the way I like to start my creative sessions, where I pull back a little bit. You know, what is not working in the drawing? What do I need to clean up? Any relics that need to be removed? And then when I feel like it's clean up, and it's like you feel the fresh air coming into the piece, into the drawing. And then once I feel like I ground myself and it feels like the air is and the clutter in the drawing has been removed, then I flow it forward. And then I just start slow, and then I slowly hit the accelerator. And to the point where we're just adding so much manic stuff again. And then that's when we stop. When we feel like we don't have any more we can do right now, we're going to need to pull back again, but we'll do that in the next session. That's how I do it. How we do it. All right. Again, I'm going to show an example of where the drawing needs to be cleaned up. If you look at this elbow, there's this little relic, little thorn sticking out of the elbow where the line work is messed up. Let's see what layer, if it's on the body layer or if it's on a layer onto itself. So I'm going to hit the V key to activate the move. It's just the move tool. It's just the tool that I pretty much go to all of the time that allows me to grab the layer. Like, the beautiful thing about the move tool is if you put it on your image, if you put it over something, it's going to, whatever layer's on top, it's going to grab. So it's the body tool. So that means it's not on a layer. It needs to be cleaned up on the body layer. So I'm going to kind of rotate this drawing a little bit, and I'm going to pull it in here. You can see where we're getting down to pixel level. All right, so watch. Now I'm going to take the E and an eraser tool, and I'm going to come in here, and we're a little bit too big on the scale, so let's bring that scale down. That should be a good size. So I'm going to just soften this edge up a little bit. And this is another way of drawing lines, erasing. Because watch this edge sharpen itself as I go, and I'm going to pull it up right under there until I hit the other edge. I'll get something a little bit smaller to get up here. And then I want to kind of carry this out. And this is what we're doing, tightening up that edge. This blurriness ends up from being just drawing it on top of these itself. So I'm cleaning up. Oh, look. And this is how I find the relics. This is where I find the relics. Let's rotate. We've got a bunch of relics here. What layer is this relic on? This relic is on columns and line work. This is on the jacket of the character, and we are on the columns and line work layer. That is a relic. It needs to be, in this case, it's not working. It needs to be removed. We just hit the E. I'm not going to really, I want to stay focused in this area because I want to clean up. So there should be nothing. So nothing. Let's pull this out a little bit. We're on, okay, Control 0 will take us out. And we should not be on the symmetry. Pull the symmetry off of there. All right, this is columns and line work. If I turn this layer off, if you notice, there's some areas of the beard that should have that removed it. Ooh, some of the beard. Okay, so let's take the body off, and now let's turn the column and layer off and see. Okay, now look at this. See, this is what happens. This is what happens sometimes when you're in that heavy creative state and you're just driving forward and you forget to change the lanes. You forget to change your layer. So I was working on the columns and then I saw something on the body that needed to be done. So I moved over to there and I did this on top of the body layer. Now, I don't want to remove this because if I go to the body layer and I remove the columns and line work, watch the face. Let's see, which face is better? I like the eyes. Look at the eyes. The eyes are a little bit finished cleaner. So what I want to do is now turn this body off, the body layer off. Now, these columns and line work should only be, they're not the columns in the back. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to do a little lasso around the center area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it, remove it, and then I'm going to bring the body layer back on, and then I'm going to select the body layer. Then I'm going to do the Control V paste so that the layer is going to be right on top of the body layer. And then I am going to move this layer into place. And get it lined up as best as I can where it's back into its place. Let's zoom in here. You can sort of see it. Yeah, so here you notice on here though, on this layer, there was a scaling issue here where I had made the scroll a little bit bigger. And you can see there's still a lot of line work and color and shadows and edges that need to be softened or tightened up along the scroll. So, I mean, this, when I say like, this is the stuff that, like, if you're just looking at the cards over time and I didn't tell you that I changed it, you probably wouldn't have been able to say, to notice it unless you were looking at them side by side. So I need to erase these two lines because these aren't working. So let's get that out of there. Let's see if there's anything else that's out of place. Okay, so that looks like it works. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these two layers, which I think is Control. Is it Control E? Yeah, Control E merges layer. But now I lose the name of my layer, so I got to just, that's the body. So I will keep some layers I will keep their names. We're in a cleanup phase, so we're trying to clean up the layers, so we want to make sure that we get that worked out. Very nice. So now, if we take off the body layer, that face should be gone. But now, we also have this line here. What layer is this on? That's on that structure copy. So if we look at that layer, I'm going to go ahead and put the body layer on. And I want to see if I turn this layer off, if there's going to be a noticeable difference between the face. You don't even see it. So if that's the case, I'm going to come back up here. I'm going to turn off the body layer. And I'm going to come back here to the structure copy. And let me turn that off. I'm gonna I'm gonna erase it. It doesn't need. It's not needed. And again, it's like this card is close to being done. This is probably one of the cards or the pieces of artwork that is the closest to being done. So, what I want to do is, it's sometimes hard when this card pulls up on my one card pull for the day to work on where to start. So it's just you go into the cleanup phase, and I'm just cleaning it up. Cleaning it up. I like I like having clean drawings. What layer is this relic on? Like you can see there's a whole bunch of relics. Like when you start removing certain layers, like you can see a whole bunch of layers. Like what layer is this on? Platform. If I erase it, so I'm going to go ahead and I just want to clean this up a little bit. I'm just going to do a quick fill on top of this, on this layer. Oops, I keep forgetting fill is. I keep wanting to push F for fill. And I want the opacity to go to 100%. What layer? What? Let's try to be. Is it a hole? What's going on there? Let's delete it and see what happens. Okay, so let me smudge it and see what happens. B. Okay, let's just do it this way. Cleaning up the relics. This card is more cleaning than really adding. So now, if you look, we've ended up finding another relic that was on top of a relic. So now we got to go after this relic. So let's see what layer this relic is on. This is going to come up with columns and line work. And columns and line work again is really only supposed to be these two big columns on the side. And if you see when I take this layer off, there's going to be some other relics that disappear. If you notice, watch the screen and watch the things that disappear. So we're going to just come in here and let's zoom out and let's do this the easy way. Let's draw a quick lasso, and I am going to do a quick fence, or it's a square lasso. I call it fence just because that's what we call it in AutoCAD. And then let's hit the delete key. And now that should take care of any relics that are inside that box will be gone. If you find one, there's usually more, and this way I can grab the ones that I don't see because I know there's nothing supposed to be in that box because it's only going to be the columns on the side. So all right, let's fix up this line work for the platform. Now that we've got the body out of the way, because if you notice where the body is, some of the line work for the grid, let's see, where's that layer? What layer is this on? That is grid. And this is structure. That should really be floor. Grid 2. Let's turn grid 2 off. So what layer is this on? Wood floor. I want to go ahead and part of the steps are good. It needs to remain. So I want to come in here and I want to be a little bit more on the careful side. It's all about cleanup. All right, so we're going to need to get, so there is a little bit of a color on it, but we're just going to have to fix that somewhere else. This is supposed to be just the wood floor down at the bottom. And it shouldn't, and the column shouldn't be affected. So we can take the layer across the entire top part. So everything above this and in the box what's going on? What are you doing? Why are you stuck? What's going on here? What's going on? Okay. Okay. Why are you? All right. Hold on a second. Why am I stuck? What's going on here? Woo! This has never happened before. All right, I got a window up somewhere. Where's this window? Do I have a window up somewhere that I can't see? Let's see if I can go to another. All right, so we're fine on this one. All right, that fixed it. I don't know what the problem was there. Let's make sure we're all good. Okay. We're gonna go a little bit deeper into the cleaning up process on this. So all right. Let's try this again with this. So we are on the wood floor layer. And so we should have nothing above. Missed it. And then hit the delete. Oh, I forgot about it. We didn't want to erase all of it. We have this little step area we want to save. So I want to go in here. I want to take this step area. And we're going to cut it. And then I want that to go onto structure copy. So let's move that up into place. There we go. And then we are going to merge the layers. Let's turn it off to make sure it's gone. There we go. There we go. We just transported it from one layer to the other. Now we want to go back to the wood floor. And now we're going to do this lasso tool again. And we are going to clean that up. Ah, yeah. Here we go. Clean. And now we got some more. You just start finding them. The real relics, the treasures, are the ones that you do this and they still find a way of surviving. What layer is that on? That is on the platform. So nothing above the platform should be on this. So let's go ahead and all of this. I want to redo this black line, so I'm going to get rid of the black line and delete it. So that got all chopped. And now what I want to do is I want to come back in with the line, and I'm going to that is a thick line. All right. And then now what I've realized in doing that, we'll fix that next. Let's go back to the wood floor, and because I want to do the same thing on the wood floor. Tighten up. So if you look at that, now that little area is now nice and clean. This little rectangle, which was a mess, and we're cleaning this up. Oh, we're cleaning it all up. So let's go ahead. What we need to do is we need to go to the layer under the columns and line work, and we need to throw in a new layer here. And what I want to do is I want to put a little bit of opacity on a layer behind the columns here, just so that the columns will look a little bit more solid. Because what we noticed that we just did was when we added those lines back to the floor and to the wood floor and the platform, the lines sort of are becoming through the column. We realize that part of the column is transparent, and we need to fix that. So now let's go ahead. I need to do a lasso tool, and I need to oops, that wasn't supposed to happen. I want to minus you. Oops, didn't quite get it all. I'm going to put yellow behind there because I like to put, if I'm going to do a fill layer behind something, I like to put a gold yellow rather than a white. It makes it pop a little bit better. So let's see what happens. There we go. Because yeah, now look at the difference between when I do a white and when I do a yellow. Let's look at that again. So let's do a white. and it looks cold. The white looks cold, which is I don't want it to be cold. Like when you want it to be cold, that's great, but I don't want it to be cold. I want this character, this older, wiser trainer, a sense of wisdom and warmth and inviting to. I want like use the warmth to make it inviting. So that's why I'm throwing the gold on there. It looks warmer, and it's these little itty bitties. These little itty bitty things that like make it sweet. And again, if we look over here, we've got some nastiness coming on the edge of this column that we need to clean up. So let's go over this column and line work. And I want to clean this up a little bit. Since the columns are supposed to be the same on either side, let's throw that symmetry back on there again. So whatever we do on this column is going to happen on that column. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to, if you notice, hold the shift key down to get a nice straight vertical line. But we want to get that little curve there. Takes care of that. You know, okay, so now we're getting an issue down below, so we'll have to clean that up. And then let's go ahead for kicks and giggles, clean up the edge of this column over here. Because like if you look at it, and I know I'm being a perfectionist here and trying to be like, this is things that probably nobody would ever notice, but they would feel the difference. Because if you look at the edge of this line up here, this edge isn't quite straight. And sometimes that's okay. Just for this, I want the columns, the architectural elements should be sharp. The organic elements should be shaky and dynamic, the edges. It's just a good, that juxtaposition, if you do like man-made objects to have a sharpness to them and natural objects to have a softness to them, that dynamic of sharp and soft really helps in the depth of a piece. Anybody who's watching that one, that's for you. I'm starting to get more comfortable with this, so I'll be doing more of that until I start getting awkward and ebb and flow. East, erase, not east. Is east erasing? East is going towards the sunset, going back in time, so that's erasing. That was a nice gem. Erase, and then I'm going to come up here. Why? Am I on the right layer? I'm not on the right. Now I'm on the right layer. Erase. I'm going to come here. Oh, what are you doing? What's going on? All right, it's doing wonky things on me here. I want you to erase. Oh, I got multiple layers chosen. Oh, that's why. Okay, I want to merge the two, that layer that I created. That's how that happens. I put an opaque layer underneath the column layer because the column layer was transparent. So it was like layers underneath were coming through, but I can't fix that by immediately working on the layer itself. I need to put an opaque layer behind it immediately, then merge the two together. I could keep them separate, but at this point, I'm cleaning it up, and it doesn't need to be that way. So I'm gonna go and hit in here, and I don't know what I just said. I'm gonna erase, and in here, that's wrong. Okay, so I lost my little thing. Sometimes Photoshop just does things with the user interface that you don't know what button you pushed, so you don't know how to fix it again unless you just reboot it. Oops, I went too far. Problem with running a. Let it catch up. It's not far enough. Let's try there. That looks nice and solid. But now we've got a relic of a dark line up here on the top. So let's see what layer that is on. This is a little bit of a tough one. Let's see what happens with the smudge tool. I really need to fix that up. I'm not liking how that's looking. And I kind of did that the wrong way. But that's okay. Let's just fix it up easy, quick for now. So, and we'll come back to it. Nope, forgot about that. Fix this layer. So we need to do a little bit of smudging. Yes, I know. I wish. I wish smudging. Happy day for me is when Photoshop is going to be able to do smudging on a symmetrical way, in a symmetrical basis. I want to be able to symmetrically smudge. I wish I had enough coding experience to figure it out for myself, but I don't. So that means that I just have to kind of come over here and do the same on this side. Or I can just copy and paste, but I think I'm just going to smudge it. It's okay, so, like, it'll give a little bit of difference for the sides, and I need to clean this up anyway. I still need to design those connectors. Another area that I just did this architecturally really fast, and I didn't really. I need to clean that up. So, all right, we're looking good. Let's put the body back in, and then I'm going to take a quick moment. I need to get some water. And I think that's enough on the ebb for today. When I come back, we'll start the flow session. All right, I'll be back in just a sec. You know what? I can just leave that flat. All right. Casting out the evil demons. All right. Now it's time to flow. We just did the ebb session, and in the ebb session, we're pulling back, we're like cleaning up, we're removing the things from the drawing or the image that isn't working. We're looking for any relics that have appeared, and we start to either incorporate them into the rightful layers or remove them, the ones that aren't working. And then now the piece feels like it's breathing again, or like I feel like I've got the connection to it. So now we're going to start the flow session, which means we're going to start pushing the image forward towards completion. And the stuff that we're going to do, we'll still take some stuff away, but we're mostly focusing on pushing it forward and finalizing the design. So the ebb flow is we're mostly focusing on taking stuff out of the drawing and cleaning up the drawing and getting the layers worked. Because like when you're working really, really, really fast, layers appear. You just start throwing a bunch of layers in there, and then sometimes it just gets, you have the face or the eye is on 6 layers. The eye doesn't need to be on 6 layers once you get it to where it needs to be. Or sometimes you want to keep working on it, but just then you merge those layers. Now we're going to flow forward. Now, what I want to show you is you look at this drawing and it's like you'll say to yourself, this looks done. And actually, it probably could be done. I can probably walk away from this and it would be done, and the world will keep spinning. The world will move on. Nobody will know the difference. I will know the difference, but I want it to be perfect. Not perfect. That's not the right. Perfection is the enemy of the good. Voltaire. So I want it to feel right. All right. And I'm going to show you the areas where it doesn't feel right. The first part, so like first thing that I look for is what isn't working or what is incomplete and what needs to be worked on. So let's just do a quick scan of this, and I'm going to kind of show where this piece needs work. First one, let's go up to the face is very, very, very important. Now the face looks fantastic. Okay? This face is great. I mean, it's just really, really, really fine tuning and just cleaning up the beard. The beard over here on the left side of this, if you notice, okay, so like, I'll just show you a quick example. Let's get on the body layer. Actually, that was me from removing from our earlier session, so we're going to need to fix that. There's going to be that's going to be a day fix. That's going to need to be a big fix. So we're not going to worry about that right now. The pixelation isn't quite working for me, but it's not bad in the sense where I need to remove it. I can move it forward, but it's just there's going to be a little bit of tedious work there, which is not very, very good for streaming. Unless you just want to watch. It's like watching me watch paint dry is really what. If you're into that, then I'm your guy. But last thing I want to do is watch somebody watch paint dry. So that's usually the best time to meditate, when you have to add meditation into your day. So look, here we go. Look at the top of this card. This was when I was in a manic state where I was really getting into this structure and the architectural part of it. And I'm like, I don't quite know what this is going to be like, but there'll probably be a bunch of circles going across it. And the line works really fast. It's loose. It's messy. If you look up here in this area of the card, that is the mess that I'm talking about. When somebody says, Where the card looks done. No, it's not done because this. I see this. And I'm not going to see the beauty. The beauty for an artist, and when the artist is done and they look at their piece and they know that there's nothing left to work on. Because like look at the columns. I mean, you can see the sky through the columns there. You know, look at the nastiness of this line work. You know, this might be where I want to start working on this today. I want to clean this up because I can also throw the symmetry tool, and then when I work on this side, it will match it on the other side, and it will be clean and it'll be fine, and we can move on like that, like this. That's it's not my it's not presentable messy. It's messy messy. There's presentable messy and there's messy messy. Messy messy needs to be removed. Presentable messy is the nice quirky little shakes in your work that like, oh, that's really nice in the texture. I'm not gonna leave that. So this is okay. I might center that a little bit. I don't know. That's not going to be centered on the column, so it's fine. This yellowness going around, that's a relic. We got to take that off. That's a relic that appeared in the last session. See, even though I was talking about it, I still ended up doing it where I did that opaque layer behind the other layer of columns. So now I'm going to have to kind of remove that a little bit. That's easy. All I need to do is to come to here, throw the symmetry tool on there. Symmetry tools are automatic. All of these pieces are automatically locked, symmetry at the middle, and I don't shift it so that I always know that it's locked in place. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here with the wand tool, which I use once in a while. And that should select that, and I'll just delete that. And that should take care of it. And it should have, but it didn't take care of it on the other side because maybe did I not? Hold on. I forgot to finalize it, but it doesn't matter now anyway. So there we go. Now that's gone. All right. I'll probably work on the flames because that's like a very nice detailed section, and I want that to be superb. And so the upper ceiling part needs to be worked on. Those little flames need to be worked on. The scroll, if you look, the line works in the edges. It's the edge. It's the edge of the line when it meets the edge of one's object meeting the space of another object. So here, the edge of where the scroll is, and then the body begins, and cleaning that up. Because if you look at it like right here, and we're getting down to the pixels here, I'm telling you. Like, what I'll do is I'll come in here, and let's, like with the smudge tool, this is going to be a job for the smudge tool, I think. Oh wait, do I have layers on? Make sure that the layers are not selected. Oh, symmetry's on. We gotta get rid of symmetry. I wish symmetry. See, here we go. We're gonna kind of smooth this out. I need to go a little bit tighter. Smooth this out. Like the color of the scroll should not be on the body. So I'm going to take that off just a little bit. I'm going to clean this up. Probably going to be a little bit of an edge there. That's going to come down. This is going to come down a little bit further. So this is cleaning it up. And we're getting pixelated here, but that's okay. I mean, that's how deep we're going in. But see, I mean, it cleans it up. Like, okay, now down here, like again, like aspects of the same object here. This little wheel of the scroll, now we need to come up a little bit bigger. We want that to wrap around a little bit cleaner. And wrap this around. Wrap this around a little bit. See, this is what I'm talking about. Just cleaning it up, getting the geometry right. Like this isn't quite working in the perspective, so I need to widen that up a little bit. But then I need to, yeah, because like to get the ellipse to work. All right, this is going to be really cool to show you how this tool works. I mean, it's still messy. I'm not like I'm going to clean up on another pass through, but you can kind of see the difference between the left side and the right side where we're cleaning it up. So let's clean up this side. And at this point, you know, this what I like about the smudge tool, what is the benefit of the smudge tool not being symmetrical is, well, there's times when it's definitely good to have it symmetrical, so I wish I could. But one of the good things about it, like the smudge tool having to do it on both sides, is each side gets a little different, which is fine with me. Probably, ooh. I'm going to need to, all right. This little tiny thing, which you can't really see because it's focused, but it goes in the tip of this, and yeah, it's time to add a new one. I've kind of worn that one down. I go through these things pretty quickly. Wacom's got a nice little case where you keep them in the stand for the stylus, so they're always handy when you need them, just like that. And you don't have to go looking for them. The only problem is when you run out of them, you gotta make sure you refill that. So now I'm gonna put this tip back in here, and we're gonna go again. There we go. Nice. All right, smudge me. We're going to clean this up. You probably need to get a little bit tighter. So let me pull this in and show you how I use the smudge tool. It's a lot of pushing. It's a lot of pushing, because if you don't do it right, sorry. The problem with smudging is if you don't do it right, it looks like shit. And it looks like you don't know what you're doing. And it's like, oh, look, there he is in the smudge. It's a very, very, very delicate process, because, you know, sometimes you take it too far and then you've got to draw the edge back over it. Let's go up a little bit bigger. But like, I'm balancing. Am I on? Yeah, we go. And sometimes it's just going over, and it's just doing it again and again, and sometimes 30 times to get the line just right. And then once it's done, I'll go over it with a hard edge again. It's just, I'm trying to find the edges, but I want the edges between my objects and parts of the object to have this juxtaposition of halfway between blurriness and halfway between sharpness. So I'm smoothing these edges here, only to and it's going back and forth. It's an ebb and flow, because it's that doing this layers of this ebb and this flow of this of softening an edge and sharpening an edge and softening an edge and sharpening an edge across layers gives a depth to it that you just can't get at one pass. Because it creates the relics. It's the relics that really make the piece look finished, and also give it a sense of wabi sabi to your artwork, because you're leaving these little I leave these. I ultimately seek to find a way to incorporate the relics into my work. That's the true mastery of the art, is to make your imperfections a part of your perfection. That's the wabi sabi of it. By George, I think I am learning how to do a stream. It has only taken me a year. So I'll clean this up a little bit better later. But like right now, I'm looking for like really hardcore, like smudging is. And one thing I like about smudging is it gets me. Yeah, you have your oil brushes, but one of the things that I like doing with oil with my brushes that you that isn't really a brush is using the brush to push pigment over the canvas. So the smudge tool gives me that ability to get the feel with the oils of pushing the pigment. I want to push the pigment into the right place. That's a part of oil painting, is I'm not actually, like with the first brush stroke, I'm not actually getting in the mode that I'm working in the pigment in the right place. I'm just getting the wet brush to get the pigment on there. Then I'm going to take a dry brush, and then I'm going to push the pigment into place. So that's why I love the smudge tool, because the smudge tool gives me that feeling where I can sculpt the painting. I am sculpting it. I am pushing the pigment into sculpting the pigment into the places that I want it to be. I mean, I'm getting a little bit blurry here, but I'm at least getting it in the right place. And then I'll sharpen it. And then I'll come back and then tighten it up a little bit. Ebb and flow, ebb and flow. Anyway, also, if you look, where does this drawing need to be cleaned up? This line work on this arm, or the texturing on this arm, or the shadow here, and the evening out of the character. Knowing where to leave the texture and where to blur the texture. It's what takes, it's for me what it gives my digital my feeling of my oil paintings. And I'm still figuring this out. I'm still learning. I've only been really hardcore doing digital artwork for a year now. And it's literally has taken a year to get comfortable with the tools. Cleaning it up, 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 cleaning it up. All right, let's use the smudge tool. And what I'll do with the smudge tool sometimes is just kind of smudge things in the direction that the muscles are going. So it's like, okay, here's the strands of the muscles, and they're going this way. And then soften it up. There, that's clean. All right, so I'm still not quite getting this scroll right, but I'm not in that mode yet. And then I like some of this scratchiness on the scroll that's coming through, but then some of it I don't want. So that was too much. So I'm going to pull that back. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to tighten that smudge tool up a little bit, because I just want to kind of clean this out a little bit. And tighten up this edge and soften the outer edge of. It's just a softness to it. You got to be really soft with the smudge tool, but sometimes you got to be hard with it. You got it's that's the analog part of it. It's like when like with the digital, like the smudge tool gives me options like be hard with it to get some coarseness with the smudging, or being very very soft with it. So I'm pulling this that pull that red down a little bit too far. I'll be honest, what really needs to happen with the scroll, I think we need to take this scroll and we need to separate it out onto an extra layer. All right. By the way, if you're interested into what soundtrack I'm listening to the soundtrack to Arrival. If you want a really good movie soundtrack to purchase, go purchase the soundtrack to Arrival. It is one of the best soundtracks to kind of work to in the background because it's got this sort of what is it? What do they call it? Biorhythm, biosync, um, hemisync is what I call it. Hemisyncness to it that just really gets your mind to a good flowing creative state. All right, so I think I'm going to. I think the edge to really get the edge of this scroll to work right. I'm going to need to lasso it and make it its own layer. And I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it on top of the layer on top of itself. And then I'm going to go to the other layer, and then I'm going to pull back from there rather than cutting it. Because then I'm going to, if I cut it and put it back in, then I'm going to have to deal with an edge. But then if I just put it on top of each, yeah, I'll show you. That's probably the best way to do it. Because I might not get the edge perfect. So I just, because I want to get as much of the dark as possible. And then just push it around. And then I want the fingers to be separate. Because I want to really be able to make the fingers. A big part of this drawing is going to be really getting the depth right in the shadow between the fingers touching the scroll. This lassoing in Photoshop is an art form onto itself. We need to just, you can have a whole damn creative rodeo with the lasso tool. All right, so let's copy that, and now let's paste it right on top of itself. And just to make sure that it is there, it is there. Okay. Now, what we can do, and then I'm going to actually name this because I'm going to keep it, I think it's time to keep the scroll separated. There we go. So now what I want to do is, so now I can come in here with the smudge tool and I can smudge this jacket without affecting and getting the, like, because like the pattern on the jacket's going to go in a continual, like the smudging, I want to be able to do texturing, and I want the texturing to be consistent going past the edge of the scroll and not get caught up at the edge, because then it'll look then it'll look wrong. So let's go ahead and take the smudge tool and I'll show you. Because like I'm going to have to smudge beyond the edge of the scroll. And this way I'm smudging behind the scroll on the layer up on the top. Get it a little bit bigger. See, get a little scratchiness. Now you're seeing that sort of edge of where, now that edge of that scroll is really defining itself, and this jacket is getting this nice smoothness. Because this is what I love about the smudge tool is I can see I can adjust where the curve is going. That's just I like being able to do that. Okay, let's get this a little tighter. Cleaning this up. This way I can get really a sense of solidity to the objects that you can't get with just edge and fill or vector work. So now that I've smudged beyond the edge of this scroll, now I can come in here and let's go to the scroll layer. And I'm going to go to the erase tool because at this point, I want to get the edge of the scroll sharp. I can soften it up, but I want the edge of the scroll to get sharp. So I'm going to take the erase tool and, oops, go a little smaller. And this way I am not affecting the jacket now. I am not affecting this way. We've separated it. So you see how I tightened up that curve. Now I'm going to do it over on this side. Oops, I'm going a little bit too far. And now that soft smudge that we did on the jacket, that's so much. Okay, so now look at the different the sides. That's the cleanup. That's the cleanup right there. And this is just the beginning of the cleanup. I mean, this is like I'm trying to find faster ways to do it that keeps the level of depth that I want to do. Okay, so let's do this in the middle. Because like, here's what happens. Here's what happened and why I just did what I did. If you look at the edge between the scroll and the shirt on the body behind, it's using the smudge tool, trying to get up to the edge of that scroll. It created like this, like, two universes fighting for dominance. And, you know, and then all of that stuff. So now what we did, because we've separated the scroll onto a layer on top, and we didn't cut it, we copied it. I can now take this smudge tool, and I know I'm repeating this, but it's just I'm also practicing teaching this. So let's go to the body now, and I'm going to smudge, make it a little bit bigger, and watch the smudge. You see how it's now you're kind of also creating. You're revealing the edge of the new layer that's up on top and getting a sense of uniformity or consistency. And now I can come in here and do a nice shadow. See, there we go. That cleaned that up. And now what I want to do is now on the scroll, I'm going to go to the scroll layer, and I'm going to take that smudge tool, and I'm going to, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to soften up the layer a little bit. I'm just going to kind of do this to it. I'm going to bring it all the way over there. See that? And now I'm going to take pen tool, brush tool, and I'm going to kind of I want to go a little bit sharper. kind of just do a shaky along the edge. I don't like that. Let's do the erase tool first. There we go. Now, and you can see I've got, let's go back to the body and let's smudge that. Smudge this jacket. Sometimes it gets messy and I'll have to fix that later. Yeah, if you're gonna get used to using the smudge tool, you're gonna be doing things over and over a lot, because that's part of what makes the smudge tool the smudge tool. Because it's a lot of, you're pushing pigment into place, and so it's a lot like doing it working with clay, where you're having to put mask, pull mask, put mask, pull mask. You're shifting, you're moving things. So there we go. Now I'm going to come in here, let's go back to the scroll, and I'm going to put it in the edge. Alright. And then I'll come with the eraser tool, clean it up again. Sometimes you get it on the first try, sometimes it takes a couple of passes. I think this is going to be good enough for today. I mean, because the devil is definitely in the details, because you can just go forever, back over and over and over again. And like over here, we pushed a little too far, so let's go back and smudge this. And now if you notice, with the smudge tool, come on, catch up. I'm going to brush down with the red, and it'll get brushed behind the scroll, and you'll see the line. And same with the yellow, and the same with this. This is why I love the smudge tool. And it's just getting the stylus to be moving right. I'm words bad. All right, so let's pull back a little bit. And there you go. That edge is nice and clean now. I think I know what I want to work on. While we're here, let's keep working on the scroll. Oops, that's on the body. This is part of the magical language I'm creating for this game. There is a rhyme and reason to it. I just haven't figured out yet. But I mean, I've got the basics of it. It's just refining it at this point. Because I want that to be able to be seen a little bit bigger, better. No, I don't want that. Oops, too much. All right, so I'm just going to kind of get lost in this for a little bit. We're starting to get into the real intense flow part. I'm going to go for about another 30 minutes. I'm probably not going to do a lot of talking because I just want to focus. I want to nail this scroll part. I'm going to just make a quick break and then I'm going to run into the final push of the day. I think where I need to focus the rest of this session is I want to get this scroll closer to being done. Be best. Bathroom time. All right. Yeah, because this is a very key part to this whole piece. How the scroll is cradling in the hands and getting that. So let's start there. Ooh, water. It's almost time for lunch. All right. So let's clean this up down here. This shadow's not quite working. Let's start. We're on the We're going to be in the body section for right now. I want to clean this up right here. Tighten up that circle, that curve. Clean this up. Don't rush it. Just keep it soft, keep it going, keep it focused, keep it focused. Go, keep it focused, keep it focused, keep it focused, keep Keith, stay focused. I don't know. Is that funny? Is that cool? Is it endearing? I don't know. I'm still trying to find my streaming voice. The scary part, though, is when we're like, well, it's not scary. It's just sometimes when you are in the creative states, your mind goes into places, and then you sometimes utter things. Sometimes negative thoughts get in your mind, and then you just scream them out, or like sing weird songs, or just say things. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. The mind goes where it wants to go when it's in the creative state. So sometimes I'll just randomly blurt out things. All right, we just touched. I think we just touched one of the fingers. All right, so let's try to start getting this geometry right. So it's going to be a knuckle there. So the knuckle, what exactly is the knuckle? These little pivot points in the fingertips. And it's going to overlap this one a little bit. Okay, so we got a little bit of a problem with the scroll on the top, so we'll have to pull that back. I'm not, you know what, let's not necessarily worry about the fingertips at the fingernails at the moment. Let's get the knuckles right. And then I'm going to need to do this on the other side. Take a look how that finger looks. So let's pull that out. All right, so immediately you can kind of tell the difference. You know, they're starting to feel more solid. Now, I could for the moment, just for the sake of saving some time, I don't need to do the other side. I'm just going to go ahead and this is also where sometimes relics appear. I am going to copy it. And then I am going to flip it. That should be good. And there we go. That works. Now, here's another reason why I did not I did not cut and paste the scroll. I just copied the scroll and left the original scroll on the body layer below because I'm going to kind of seam the two together. And if I cut it, I would have had an empty space underneath, and I don't want an empty space underneath because I'll be able to get the fingers to wrap around the bottom of the scroll easier just by like pulling away from the layer that's up on top and then still having that as a copy below. It's a neat little trick. Let's see if I do it right. So now what I want to do is with these fingertips, I want this to mirror, so I'm going to run a symmetrical. So let's go ahead and be on the scroll layer now. And we'll pull this up a little bit. And what this is just such a neat little layering, neat little trick with the layers that's allowing me to really make it look like those fingers are really wrapping around the scroll. Ah, why are you not? There we go. So now let's... It's such a cool trick. Let's go get back on the body. It's such a cool trick. This is just where I love this. Getting those fingers. Getting those fingers. Okay, now we gotta pull back the scroll a little bit. And yeah, I mean, I know I did copy mirror, but I'm still gonna do enough of changes on each of them that they're gonna be different from one side to the other. But I wanted to at least have the geometry solidly symmetrical, and then I can work from there. There'll still be enough inconsistencies to fool the eye of the viewer to be able to have a sense of difference between them. Such a cool trick. There we go. That's beautiful. Look at that. Pull it back even further. See? I mean, here's the thing. It's such a subtle change and a subtle clean to it. And like if I didn't tell you about it, you never would have noticed it. But when you looked at the center symbol on the scroll and just the solidity of the fingertips now, it's just that area of the piece is just like you're like it will feel like it breathes better. And then so now what I've got, well, I'm just going to keep working on these fingertips because I'm not going to go to the fingernails. I'm going to leave the fingernails for another session because I want to get further into the scroll. It's not about these fingertips. It's really about how these fingertips are hitting the scroll, and I want to focus on scroll work on the scroll. But I can't really do what I want to do to the scroll until I take care of this. But I'm going to save the fingertips for next time. There we go. Okay, so let's clean up this underneath. Pushing the pigment, 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 all day long, pushing the pigment, pushing. It's like pushing a rock, 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 pushing a rock. Smooth it out, smooth it out, smooth it out. Smooth it out, push it out, way out. This is what you do when it's very repetitive and it gets very tedious. You just start making things just to make it enjoyable. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's it's starting to get it where it needs to be. Fix this up, solidify, fucking gravity. Let's clean this up. A little bit more of this color deep underneath here. I know I'm pulling it out a little bit further from the direction that I want to go, but it's just, it's like, it's a line that's kind of going from the fingertip to scroll to the fingertips to the pattern underneath to the fingertips and the shirt behind it, getting the shadow to work. Also bringing in a little bit more color and getting a little bit of the harshness or the intensity between, because that edge doesn't need to be that black or that dark. There could use a little bit more color in here, and some of this can be thinned out. Ebb and flow, backwards and forwards, on every single dimension. There we go. This is what I do all day long. Just sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's tedious, sometimes it's tediously fun, and sometimes it's funnily tedious. Fucking tedious. Let's flip it. Now, I may come back and sharpen these lines up with a hard line later, only to soften it up again. But again, it's an ebb and flow coming back and forth between where's that edge? It's trying to find the edge between things without actually finding the edge of when you transition from one thing into another. It's depending on how far down you go, it's not a clean transition, depending on what scale you're on. Though it might be sharp on certain levels or dimensions. All right, I'm going too far. I don't need to go down to the belt buckle. That can be another time. There we go. Look at that. That is superb. Look at the evenness of the difference between, well, you can't see what it used to be. I should probably, next time I'm going to save a layer of what was, and I'll be able to flip back and forth. So we're going to do that next time. Arrgh. Fuck you, Pee-wee. Alright, so I think I got the fingertips where I want them. So I'm going to come in here and just do a quick hard line. I'll probably take the opacity down to 75%. It's kind of there we go. Look at that. Look, just look how tight that makes that look. And the hard part that was that's the thing that it's there now that wasn't there before is the fingertips looking like they're going behind the fingertips that they're next to. And we'll work on that at another time. I want to get towards the heart of the scroll here, and let's take symmetry off now because I want to let let that go for just a little bit. So let's play with the smudge tool. Let's get the smudge tool a little bit tighter because I want to clean up. We gotta go on the scroll. And it's okay if it's not perfect right now. It's just I'm pushing things around. It's just I'll come back in a cleaning session towards the end to clean up anything that I feel has gotten too much. Like this to come around, but it's not going to connect. So let's. Smudge tool. Immediately that starts looking a lot tighter. This smudged up a little bit too high. I want to bring some more of the light back down. Bring the light back into here. Again, just it's a lot of pushing. Yeah, so there. I mean, that's making that writing look so much tighter, so much tighter. Yeah, looking good. It's looking solid. It really is looking solid. Woo. All right, I'm gonna do one more. Let's clean up the edges. I think that's gonna be good for today. Again, I've got one thing I've noticed on some of this. I've put the black line on the wrong side. Should probably be underneath. The key to this magical language is geometry. It's a geometrical language. Let's pull some of this light, this ripple down through here. Pull some of the darkness up. Let's clean this up. This should probably come down to a point. Same thing with this. This is on the wrong side, so let's fix that up. But yet, there's still some of that. A little bit, a little bit. Let's go with the dark. B. Pull that a little tighter. be good for now. Yeah, that makes such a difference. You know what I need to do? Let's go ahead. I want to do something. Let me pull up. Um, bats, 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 bats. Okay. All right. Just want to kind of do this. I'll do this better next time. But that didn't go well. Never mind. Hold on a second. All right, that didn't work the way that I wanted it to. All right, let's do this. same size. It's just, I'm pulling this in from the card. I just want you to be able to see the difference in what we did. Let's put this up on top. Let me see. Ooh, shit. Hold up. Damn it. I gotta go back a little bit. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I lost the scroll for a second. I think that's about right. Yep. Okay. So this is, let's look at the hands. This is the way that it was. And this is what we fixed it to. Okay, so this is what it was. And this is what we cleaned it to. See the difference? This is the new. Look at this. Look at across the scroll. The text across the scroll. Look at the fingertips. Look underneath the fingertips. You know, we're getting a better sense of depth there, and that's a key part to the piece. And we've got some of the relics done, and we've cleaned up some of the scroll. I mean, there's still more work to do on it, but we did good today. So I think that's good too. Ooh. So, all right. I think with that, I'm gonna call it a day. This has been a great session. Let's end with looking at what we've got. We still need to work on the ceiling, and we still need to work on the fire on the edges. But I think we really hit this. Like, it's like, what is the important part of the card? The important part is the scroll and how the scroll is cradling in the hands, and we cleaned that up pretty solid today. If the card needed to go to printing tomorrow, I'd be okay with. I mean, I'd be okay if this went, but it's just the fact that I have the chance to be able to clean up these little things is going to take the artwork that extra step, and that's what I really want as the artist. So anyway, you all have a great week, and I will see you here again next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. And I don't know what we'll work on because the cards tell us. So maybe I'll pull the card on the stream, and we'll see how it goes. I never know what the day's going to be. So I think we procured this one pretty well. So have a beautiful week. Friday nights, we will be streaming the another training play every Friday night at 8:30 p.m. So see you then next time. Have a great week. Where's the stop button?